This demonstration is about deadlock in threads in Java. Deadlock in Java. Deadlock in Java is a part of multi-threading. It can occur in a situation when a thread is waiting for an object lock, which is acquired by another thread, and second thread is waiting for an object lock that is acquired by the first thread. Therefore, both threads are waiting for each other to release the lock. So once again, deadlock can occur in a situation when a thread is waiting for an object lock that is acquired by another thread, and second thread is waiting for an object lock that is required by the first thread. Thread 1 is waiting for thread 2, thread 2 is waiting for thread 1. Both threads are waiting for each other to release the lock. So that condition is called a deadlock. Thread 1 is waiting for thread 2, thread 2 is waiting for thread 1. In this demonstration, we have a class called deadlock thread demo. And inside the main method, we have resource 1, resource 2, string, both are final. So we have one string here with name Achala Chaturanga Ponsu, resource 2, Moroto Sri Lanka. And we have a thread here, thread T1, new thread, and inside the thread we have the run method, and we have a synchronize block, and resource 1 is synchronized. So another thread cannot access resource 1 because thread 1 will access it. So thread 1 locked resource 1. We have the thread.sleep, and next inside the synchronized block there's another synchronized block which takes the lock of resource 2, that is this one. So here T1 tries to lock resource 1 and then resource 2. Thread T1 will try to lock resource 1 and next resource 2. So this synchronized block is inside the outer synchronized block. So just like the thread 1, there's thread 2 as well. T2 tries to lock resource 2 first, then resource 1 the other way. Synchronize resource 2. First the thread 2 tries to lock resource 2. In contrast, the thread 1 will try to lock resource 1. Next, the same code, only difference is the resources are which resource is locked. So in thread 2, first it will get the lock of resource 2 and then it will try to get the lock of resource 1. And both threads are started. You can see when T1 is started, it will get the lock of resource 1 and next try to get the resource of 2. When T2 is started, it will try to get the lock of resource 2 and next the resource 1. So there's a competition for resource 1 and 2. If you run this example, you can see thread 2 locked resource 2. Thread 2 has locked resource 2. So this line is executed. thread 2 has managed to get the lock 2, and also thread 1 has managed to lock the resource 1. But after that, resource 1 and resource 2 are both locked. Thread 2 has managed to get the resource 2 locked. So this is locked. Locked by T2. Thread 2. And thread 1 has locked the resource 1. This is locked by resource T1. So you can see thread 2 locked by resource 2. So thread 2 has locked resource 2. Once again from the output, thread 2 has locked the resource 2. Next, thread 1 has locked resource 1. So from this line, thread 2 locked resource 2. So resource 2 is locked by T2. You can see thread 2 has managed to get the lock of resource 2. So resource 2 is locked by T2. And from here, thread 1 has managed to get the resource 1 locked. So resource 1 is locked by T1. Now T1 wants to get the lock of resource 2, this one, which is not possible because it's already taken by T2. And T2, in order to release the finished work and release the lock, it requires to get the lock of resource 1, which is again impossible because lock is taken by the other thread. Resource 1 is taken by T1, so T2 will not get the lock. So both threads are waiting for each other. So if we have only one thread, you can see thread 1 lock resource 1, thread 1 can lock resource 2. No issues. So no issues there. When we start the thread, there's no T2 thread now. T1 thread is executed. Synchronize resource, which get the lock of T1. Resource 1 is taken by locked by T1, and now there's no T2. So resource 2, the lock of resource 2 can also be taken by T1. So T1 thread can finish the execution. But if we have thread 2 running, so if we only have thread 2, no issues. Thread 2 can get the both locks, resource 2 and resource 1. But if you have both, you get this deadlock. So that's the end of the demonstration.